some races or creatures are portrayed in video games offensively. But one of the series that takes extra care to cater to many egalitarian frustrations is the Metal Gear series. Every single game in the series, say the first two, has at least one pivotal black character. There have been strong women characters in every game. In Metal Gear Solid 3, the most important character of the main story arc is shown to be a woman. And in Metal Gear Solid 4, virtually every boss or elite enemy in the game is a woman. But the series really sets itself apart in showing gays in the military. As the series progresses, many characters are revealed to be gay or bisexual, including, as a minor mission, if Peach Walker suggests, Master Miller, and perhaps Big Boss himself. Despite these examples, there are obviously far more groundbreaking. So, what groups do you think are underrepresented in video games? You, Chris.
Just to know, it's something that's interesting that the newest prototype game has a black protagonist.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's good. Anybody else? Who
I
wants?
have a weird thing to say. Lots of video games have Asian people on the credits, but not very many Asian characters. Isn't that odd?
You know what? That's actually a good point.
Yeah, there's one.
It's because Asian people are obsessed with white.
Oh, okay.
Well, one of the ones that I think would be harder would be like people of different sexualities, because when you're running through a big street, you don't do over and go, hey, who you like?
That's exactly what I would assume you would say. What's that?
Doesn't Snake do that to Rykov in 13?
Yeah, and I actually the Turks are talk about who they
yeah,
like.
I know.
Yeah, they talk about who they like in
Same like, he likes that one.
yeah, exactly. And Rude, who do you like? I'm like, no more of it. What's this?
Like, I know that most video games really don't have any black people in them, but it's like Pokemon sometimes does have. Like, I know in like Black and White, in White version they have two black gym leaders. No, they have two black gym leaders, both of which are girls, and like the second gym leader, I believe, she's like characterized to be like a strong, independent woman, and the last gym leader in White version is like a small little black girl, but she's still classic. So, like, they're tend to be characterized as, like, black people in video games tend to be characterized as more power and less, like, they're not really part of the storyline.
Yeah.
They're just more power. Like, even in animes, they're more
power?
like, they tend to be stronger, like, more hot-headed. They aren't characterized as, like, thinking, and that's,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barrett's a perfect example of that. And he is essentially a stereotype. I mean, I like Barrett, but he is. Christopher.
An example of, my opinion, something that's done poorly was BioWare's handling of Mass Effect, the sexuality in Mass Effect, and homosexuality in Mass Effect. Whereas in the first two games, you could only have homosexual relations with female and female characters. In the third game, they go, "Oh, surprise! You can guys can bang guys too." And I just felt like that was really poorly done. And just in reference to something like that, I just think that it's a really kind of sensationalist. Yeah. And it's just it felt like it was shoehorned in there to appease people, but it was poorly thought out, and I don't know. It just kind of almost seemed like you could have had a completely straight shepherd for 2 games that had zero interest in men, and then out of nowhere you could just like you could literally start flirting with James Vega in like your first.
Shepard is so amorphous anyway.
The world's gonna change.
I guess you're right. I'd be like, hey, James Vega, like, doing some push-ups over here. That's pretty
I'm
cool.
just saying, like, you can make Shepard, like, they specifically try to make it so you can make Shepard into whatever you want.
Only in the third game.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're gonna take one
You're
more.
not gonna let people change, like, maybe.
That's such a weak
We're gonna
argument.
take spy.
Such a weak
I'm
argument.
interested in what spy we have to say.
Or is that spy? He's documented ninja.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know that. No, go.
I think the main reason this is not a lot of minorities in games is because it's easy to offend people to do it wrong, but it's really, really safe to just be like, here's another white guy doing white guy things.
Here's another white guy doing something scary. That is like a perfect place to end it. Here's another white guy doing white guy. Alright, well, we're gonna go to the next area, your game shows on. And this area will deal completely with Metal Gear and Metal Gear series. We're going to start with Metal Gear Surveillance. Billions are spent per year on the IA office, NSA, and FBI to develop, purchase, implement, and operate systems like Carnivore, Echelon, Nearest Insight to intercept and analyze the immense data that traverses the web and phones every day. The AI system in the Metal Gear series, called GW, was developed by Emma Emmerich as the greatest surveillance system ever made, and by 2014, the world is unknowingly controlled by the owners of this technology, the Patriots. Pseudo-wars are being waged around the world, are being fought by soldiers with millions of nanomachines designed to monitor their activities and control the theater of battle. Thus, the Patriots have achieved what previous conquerors and tyrants could never hope to, nearly complete totalitarianism and an indifferent and satisfied populace. This seeps into the culture. Featured commercials and TV programs from MGS4 portray an increasingly violent, militant, and trivial culture in 2014. This could be explained in part due to the globalization of war and the industry surrounding it. Conflicts in the Middle East, South America, and Eastern Europe are in a state of neither war nor peace, but rather police actions, much like Iraqi freedom and Afghanistan. Following the world wars, the public was horrified by the new technologies and tactics of World War I and II. The reluctance to declare an official war resulted. Since World War II, we have been in countless police actions, but not a single official declared war. The diminishing definition of war results in the diminishing definition of peace, would seem to be Kojima's times.
And next we're going to talk about the military-industrial complex. Wikipedia defines it as a concept commonly used to refer to policy relationships between governments, national armed forces, and the industrial sector that supports them. This has been controversial since the beginning of the Cold War, as this obviously creates a perverse incentive to encourage war. The MGS series highlights this. Metal Gear Rex is a joint venture of DARPA, a government agency, and Armstech, a private company. Armstech was in bad shape financially, and so lobbied and bribed for funding from the government. The other characters remarked that such a weapon is useless and needlessly destabilizing after the Cold War is ended. The theme is that, like people, corporations will not silently die. Armstech could not exist in peace, so they tried to create war. This brings us to the subject of private military companies. In MGS 4, it goes a little further. Private military companies, or PMCs, have turned war itself rather than its implements into a business. This creates a financial incentive to encourage war, as I was discussing before, and trivializes war as a business decision. This mirrors the rise of PMCs in real life, which soared after mass military discharges in the 1990s. It is also a cautionary tale of letting the military-industrial complex get too large. So a question I would like to pose to you: do you think that the world is heading towards a state of sustained low-level conflict, and that big wars and conflagrations are a thing of the past, where where war is becoming more of a small-scale business decision, something that is always ongoing, always on TV? Or do you think that perhaps there is another big world war right around the corner? I would like to hear what you think. Rainbow Dash.
I feel that yes, the world is kind of definitely progressing in that kind of way, where there's always like these small scale wars. I mean, everywhere you look, there seems to be some sort of conflict between two people. Like I remember someone said, "So long as there are two men on Earth, there will be war." Little quote I heard somewhere. I can't remember where exactly it was from.
So long as there are two people left on the planet, someone is going to want someone dead.
Exactly. That's it.
I want to put Polaroids from
That's true.
Shoot, where was I? Yes, but I do believe that a lot of the small scale conflicts, like regardless of what the supposed motive is, I definitely think there's definitely business incentives somewhere behind it. Because I mean, if you look even in the past, there's always been some sort of economic benefit from war. I mean, if you look like the roaring 20s, the economic boom was partially caused by the wartime industry following up the First World War. And I definitely believe that, like, if that keeps kind of continuing with small-scale conflicts, there will definitely, at some point, be a larger-scale conflict. Kind of all these small stepping stones leading up to something much bigger.
Okay. And Yusuf.
It's definitely seeming to look that way. Like, it might not so much in the recent, like maybe 5 years or so, but going back to the past couple decades and just leading up to this moment, the Cold War might have said it was over, but it's not truly over. All the time you see video games facing Russians, TV shows against Russians, things like that. So the Cold War truly isn't over, but it's still just a matter of the world is slowly dividing sides. Because like we've got our countries that we're aligned with, Russia had its countries, and it still has its countries that it's slowly aligned with. So each time, each country is just kind of choosing one of the sides that it's going to go on, and then it has been rising, and I think it's still going to keep rising. The tension between those two, so it's just going to need that one drop that's going to set everything off. Between it, it's just like one person from a country like us invading Iraq. If that would have happened earlier when Russia still had control of Iraq and they were allied with it, then it would end up changing drastically towards that situation, and we might have had a world war. So it's just a matter before we end up upsetting an alliance somewhere.
Okay. All right. Excellent point. So you think that there is potentially another large war in the works? Okay.
Not against Russia, really.
Yeah. Well,
Just the alliance in general.
this would be Pokemon.
Yeah, I would actually agree. I mean, I like to think that all the conflicts now are going to be minor in minor regions that aren't too big of a deal, I guess you could say. But overall, as far as in the future, when we're going to have more issues with resource management, just general claims on territory, on actual resources, so whether it's oil, whether it's fresh water, that's going to be more and more of an issue as you come towards an era of like overpopulation and stuff like that. There's also the fact that we have thousands of nuclear weapons unaccounted for from the Soviet Union. I mean, the chance for, if you like to see in video games, states be taken over by terrorists and then they have nuclear weapons so they threaten the entire world. I mean, that could very well happen. And the fact that we have countries like India and Pakistan at each other's throats, we have countries and states that are always being changed as far as the leading regimes, it's very, very possible that something could actually escalate to that point.
Okay. Excellent point. Excellent point.
You with Cat here?
I think I concur that most people in here pretty much have the same, more or less the same opinion. I can't really speak to a world war. I can see it either being, all low level. I think that'll continue either way, but I don't know about a world war. But I did read one of Chomsky's recent books about the situation in the Cuban Missile Crisis when some Navy carrier diverted a nuclear war.
Yeah.
But she actually spoke to something earlier. One of my points. She actually brought up the broken window fallacy, which is an economic concept. That wars stimulate economic growth, which I disagree with. But honestly, when you look at
could you expand on that?
the broken window fallacy is basically.
Or no, could you expand on why you disagree?
Well, because you look around the world, like Europe right now, there are ongoing financial crises, and one that's just absolutely booming here and is set to implode at any point. It's always, there probably will be low-scale conflict instigated by large hegemons, but I don't think it's going to be the same one. I certainly don't think it's going to be America in the long run.
So we've got to wrap it up pretty much. We're pretty much done. We want to go back to the question we asked at the beginning. How have video games influenced your political beliefs? Anybody want us to comment on that? You sir, start.
I would love to. An entire game series, Hell Institution, that wasn't mentioned today, is the Ultimate series. Some of you may or may not have played it. But Ultimate 1, 2, and 3 were pretty much your generic kill everything, grab and dash, hack and slash. But Ultimate 4, Richard Garriott, when he created that game, decided he wanted to change the entire aspect of that. But morality, penalties, and you actually have to be a good person to beat the game. It's impossible not to. And then in Ultimate 5, the entire political message of the game was, okay, so we've got all these rules in place. What happens when you take it too far? So all of the ideals that you strove for in the first and Ultimate 4 were then enforced to the max. So you basically, walked the character through, okay, there's a really great society, then we're going to see what happens when you go too far.
I love it.
You should. Ultimate 4 will change your life, will change many people's lives.
Sniper.
I have to say my
Oh,
favorite.
sorry, we got to keep on going. Sniper. Yeah. I was sorry, man. You would put off. We got to keep these things short, but Sniper, please.
I have to say that my favorite series and most influential was the Fallout series, mainly because it shows the basic mechanics of how governments play with citizens and how people will always have these sort of conflicts being unstable everywhere, no matter what happens in the world, we're all going to be sort of conflicts.
You had your hand up.
Yeah. I bet it's like video games have certainly changed my political beliefs, and even also I also say my religious beliefs, because instead of spending time with my family and doing what they all do and learning what they all do, I ended up developing my own personal beliefs independent of my family, which has caused some tension because everyone else in my family is Republicans. I came to think differently.
Yeah.
So,
I was going to agree with him, is that video games have exposed me to things I wouldn't have otherwise. Bioshock made me actually pick up the Fountainhead and actually read it.
Yeah.
I didn't get very far. I started to not like it. It was kind of complicated.
It's kind of dense.
It's kind of dense. But I kind of knew who Anne Rand was, but I didn't really understand it until I played Bioshock and I talked to the guy. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to open the book and actually figure it out. And I'm like, I don't totally understand it, but at least I kind of get what it is. It made me think politically about what objectivism is and how we use it in politics. And Final Fantasy VII made me think differently about the Palestine-Israel conflict and the nature of terrorism. And also, I have been with Republican and Catholic, but video games have showed different religions and Buddhism and different things. I'm like, oh, there's other things out there. We need to learn more about it. Whereas otherwise, people just no. Video games appeal to people who don't necessarily pick up a book, but might get you to pick up a book.
Oh, totally.
So it changes it opens doors for people.
You in the back of the second. And then we go.
Politics, I haven't been influenced by games in terms of politics. One, what you said in the Army outgrowth there. Games like Knights of the Republic, help me, kind of establish my own, morality, kind of make me think through decisions, more to find what I feel is right, versus what, some games convince me. So, yeah, sorry.
Thank you. Okay, well, first off, if you enjoyed the religion section, I would recommend coming to Religion and Anime tomorrow at 6 p.m. in the karaoke room. And we do this at every convention we go to, so before we finish up, we would like to hear any comments criticisms, comments, suggestions on what you think about this, what you think we should add, take out, anything you want to say? Anybody? You say.
I was just gonna say, very interactive. Which I think just the subject matter really needs. So I appreciate you guys opening the floor.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. You sir.
I do like how open it was, but I feel like first person shooter and that type of genre wasn't touched on too much. I mean, I know a lot of first person shooters, there's hardly any story at all. But like the Halo series could really delve into that religion aspect.
Yeah.
That is just complete military. But that is just complete religious to military association. So it could easily
Yeah, we always get a list of like the homework games. Yeah.
You sir.
I actually have a question for you. I think this may be a dumb question, but I noticed that last time you guys did this at a Five Club, you were both dressed in another solid outfits. I just assume that you're big influence, so maybe something.
Still recording.
FS7 outfits?